What's up with y'all? Oh, actually, fuck that. And let's get it. What's up, y'all? Man, it's your boy David. We back with another reaction video. Today, we are reacting to Gen Z culture, is basically medieval China. I almost said Japan, nigga, not China, nigga. And I said, and with that being said, man, let's see how this is so interesting to me because I don't really know much about medieval China. The only thing I know about China is the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, um, Lu Bu. Lu Bu, he's like a great warrior for like the Warring States period in China or something like that. And I know how to say emperor in Chinese, Huangdi. That's all I know. But with that being said, man, let's see what this whole time about, man. With that being said, make sure you like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get straight to it.
The other day, I was thinking about it, and
Oh yeah, ignore the snoring in the background, bro. When you share a room with people, people be snoring and shit, and that shit it's annoying for me. Hopefully y'all can ignore it. You know what I'm saying?
I realized, you know who these dang Gen Zers remind me of? The Song Dynasty from medieval China. Anyone else been feeling this way lately? No.
Wow, that is actually like the most original thought I've ever fucking heard in my life. I haven't heard many original thoughts, but that's extremely original. This nigga might be Socrates. I ain't gonna lie.
No, it's just me? Well, let me explain what I mean. There's all this new data to suggest that younger people these days want to spend their money on experiences, not physical items. I think it reflects this growing hunger for third spaces, and if you don't know what third spaces are,
Third space is basically like a space you can go that isn't school or work to like commingle with people and shit like that.
let me just quickly break it down for you. Basically, your two main spaces are home and work, and historically the third space was somewhere in the middle. Maybe it was the bar, or the guild hall, or the tea house. These have all but gone extinct recently or have become prohibitively expensive, and young people are feeling it. They want the third spaces back. This maybe feels like a very 21st century vibes-based phenomenon, but it's actually extremely Chinese. The Song Dynasty was the first era in history to have what we would consider as a lifestyle culture, where the cities were actually designed for pleasure and snacking and nighttime entertainment, just like so many downtown areas are today. There was this 12th century writer named Meng Yuanlao who wrote this fascinating memoir called The Record of a Dream of Splendor at the Eastern Capital. It's one of these shocking works from the Middle Ages that I love reading because it seems like it was written by someone recently instead of someone 1,000 years ago. He writes this whole nostalgic reminiscence of the Song capital city, Kaifeng, and talks all about the 24-hour tea houses and the professional performers and storytellers and the specific vibes of the different districts.
Man, this just tells me all niggas want us to be entertained, me included. I just want to be entertained, bro. Like, yeah, last week we got work, school, all that shit to deal with, but niggas just want to be entertained, bro. No cap, like every once in a while, bro. Every once in a while, no cap.
There's one section where he talks about restaurant culture. I'll just quote the full thing here and you tell me if this sounds familiar. When the guests arrive, a single person holding chopsticks and a menu questions all of the seated guests. The men of the capital are extravagant and they demand 100 different things. Some hot, some cold, some warm, some regular, some extremely cold, and things like noodles laced with lean and fatty meat. Everyone orders something different. The waiter takes the orders and draws near a counter where he stands in line and recites the orders off from the start. I don't know, this to me literally sounds like a night out in 2026. I'm positive this isn't what you would picture in your head when you hear the word medieval. Also, just to give you a historical timeline here, this is basically China on the eve of the eventual Mongol invasion, and it's a time and a place where consumerism is starting to flourish and it's becoming a core identity for younger people. Bringing it back to Gen Z, I've noticed that there's this big obsession with what I would call curated living. I don't know, maybe I'm not describing it accurately.
What that mean? That's what that mean. Curated living, like we just pick and choose how we live.
But it is super vibes based, like life is one big Pinterest board. Think of terms like cozy games or the aesthetics of going.
Oh, aesthetics. Oh yeah, but niggas be really picking aesthetics for real, for real. Like I've noticed that too. Like everything's very aesthetics, like Americana, street culture. Just a whole lot of aesthetics, like all around, like in Gen Z, bro. Like no cap.
On a walk around the city with an iced matcha.
Like that YN shit too. When it be like that YN shit is also like an aesthetics as well. Like I don't be saying that shit a lot because I don't really give a fuck. Like YN is that's a kind of a crazy thing to say. Like if you're not black, but you know, that's how it goes.
It's this sort of return to the Song Dynasty scholar, gentleman, urban ideal. Your status isn't just about money, although that'll obviously always be important. It's about your taste. Back then, it was about your taste in tea and incense and interior design. Now it's more so about your taste in underground music and niche TikTokers. The youth don't want to be told what's cool anymore by commercial.
You know, it's so funny. I don't really listen to underground anything, bro. Like, when it comes to music, I like to stick to the niggas that be on the mainstream. Cause I feel like mainstream music, like Party, Drake, Cole, I feel like them niggas, there's a reason why they're mainstream. They have a very good understanding of what sounds good. Meanwhile, these underground niggas, sometimes they just don't have a very good understanding of what sounds good. Like, to a more, I almost want to say, I'm not to call myself a fucking, like, general ass nigga, like, more of a general audience, bro. You feel me? Even though, like, sometimes they can make music that's, like, still, like, kind of niche in his own way. Like, I could say, like, Party Next Door, he's mainstream, but some of them sounds he be using, I don't hear that from anybody for real. Like, he mainstream, but that shit is very niche, and he has a very deep catalog of music that, like, yes, he has his hits and his bangers that people listen to, but some shit that he has in his catalog, nobody be hearing that shit. Like, his unreleased, that shit, it's crazy. Like, it gets really deep, really fast, bro. The rabbit hole get deep with that nigga, no cap.
And MTV with big corporations calling the shots.
Like, we got the more well-known shit, like Some of Your Love. Some people know a lot about that, but we also got, like, what else can I say? The Shy, Can't Let the Summer Pass, like, shit like that. That whole tough. Baton Rouge, or I think, is it Routine Rouge? That shit, bro. He be cooking, no cap.
Want to create their own experiences. They want to get medieval Chinese again. Also, semi-relatedly, there's been a big surge in traditional Chinese medicine trends among Westerners on TikTok recently. You see it everywhere. A number of Chinese American influencers have been sort of introducing these ancient concepts like Qigong practice or drinking hot water instead of cold water, and the internet has been going crazy for it. So maybe medieval China is making a
You know what I used to do? No cap. When I used to, like, always wash my face with cold water. But then I got sick one day, and I just stopped doing that shit. I just stopped fucking washing my face with cold water. Like, I literally just told myself I'll never do that shit ever again. Like, I don't care. No cap.
back in more ways than one. We won't just focus on the Song Dynasty here. There's more to China in the Middle Ages than just that one period, but I do have a few more song boxes I want to check before we continue. Before we do that, just a quick plug. If you like my content, which of course you do, you should definitely join my
this video's pretty cool, no cap.
Patreon, link in the description. You'll get access to the official Medieval Mindset podcast with weekly episodes, the Medieval Mindset book club, voting rights on topics and titles and thumbnails, the essential medieval history reading list, special videos that don't get posted on my main channel.
Yeah.
So sign up now.
Show them some love.
Bone Smash the Young Men. Arxing is the new version. Back to the video. Maybe you've heard of the modern phenomenon of looks maxing, or maybe you aren't chronically online and
I understand the appeal of looks maxing. Obviously, everybody wants to look as good as possible, but it gets to a point where, like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, the main advice I could give niggas on how to look better is literally just wash your fucking face and wash your ass, bro, and moisturize your skin, and call it a day. And if you feel like you don't like how you're built, go to the gym, bro, and that's about it for real. We don't gotta bone smash or chew the most exotic gums in the world to get our jaws stronger. Like, bro, just if you really don't like how you look that bad, go to the gym, bro. And if you're boning, hey, fuck it, go to Turkey, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Fuck it, take that trip to Turkey, bro, if you feel like it. But if you're more secure in yourself, just go bald, nigga. Like, it is what it is, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I have no idea what I'm talking about. Basically, looks maxing is the
Look at this nigga just sucking all the fucking neck out of his neck, bruh. Hold on, look at that shit.
Well, back to the video. Maybe you've heard of the modern phenomenon of looks maxing, or maybe you aren't chronically online and have no idea what I'm talking about.
Look at this nigga, look at this shit. His shit look normal here. Look at this shit.
Basically, looks max.
Ugh. Boy, I know that shit hurt, ugly ass nigga. God damn. You know what's funny? I could look at this nigga doing all this looks maxing shit and still be like, you're ugly as fuck. Now what? Now what? You did all that looks maxing. I still think you're chopped. The girls think you're chopped. Now what? Exactly, bro.
waxing is the new version of the age-old concept of getting hot, although it goes way beyond diet and exercise and a little Botox. Young people, I would say especially young men, are exploring all of these scientific avenues.
This is so fucking stupid, and this nigga's still fucking ugly. I don't know what the fuck is going on, bro. Like, nah, play. He's not ugly, but still, this is still dumb as fuck though. Like, he look like a regular ass person, like, and he's doing all this shit to get hot like a model. Like, bro, relax, gang. Just relax.
To try and improve their looks. The most medieval seeming
Teeth whitening is cool though. Definitely, I think that's definitely cool. Like, I'll definitely get a teeth whitening and like fixing my teeth low key too. But like, all that shit where he's goddamn on, he doing all this shit. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, bro.
looks maxing method is called bone smashing, and it's been promoted over and over again by probably the most famous looks maxer, a 19-year-old streamer named Clavicular.
That nigga racist too, by the way. This is so crazy. A lot of these looks maxing ass niggas is racist, bro. And that's food for thought for all the everybody that's not white. Understand that these looks maxing niggas, a lot of them are racist. So for everybody that's not white, that's important, bro. Keep that in mind when you watch that shit.
Maxer, bone smashing, clavicular. I understand this all might sound ridiculous to you, but stick with me because it's interesting.
It is fucking ridiculous. And that's on them Gen Z saying that shit. It's fucking ridiculous and fucking stupid. Not gonna lie.
Also, don't you want to understand the youth? Anyway, the way Clavicular describes it, bone smashing is when you take a tiny hammer and tap hard along your cheekbones and your...
Don't try this. This is for trained idiots. On God, this nigga Clavicular's a fucking moron, bro. For real. I feel so good talking shit about this dude. I feel great. I feel honestly like this. Like I felt okay when I woke up. I felt good, but like talking shit about this fucking loser makes me feel so fucking good. Like, oh my God.
Your jawbone. It causes a temporary swelling that lasts for a few hours and makes those bones look more defined. So it's something you might do just before a night out so you can look more masculine.
Do all that to get no... Could you imagine doing all that shit to get no hoes? Like, doing all that to get no bitches, like, at all? Like, could you imagine that shit? He probably did all that shit, went out that night and got 0 numbers from no bit from he got 0 numbers. All that for 0 for nothing, bro. Crazy.
Ladies you meet. Maybe at this point this isn't a crazy revelation, but it turns out young guys in medieval China had the same insecurities that modern men do, and they even went about similar methods of soothing their anxieties. During the Song Dynasty period, there was this really interesting tension between the Wen class, who were the more literary, refined scholars, and the Wu class, who were the more martial and physical warrior caste. Depending on which group you belong to, you'd basically looks max to make sure your outward appearance matched what you represented. So that meant young men who were part of the scholarly class went to these extreme lengths to achieve this sort of refined, pale physical aesthetic with slender features to essentially highlight the fact that they never had to work with their hands. They'd even use specific diets and cosmetic aspects of traditional Chinese medicine to maintain this look that would instantly signal to everyone that they were part of the intelligentsia. Those in the military class, basically who we would consider to be the modern day Chads, focused primarily on bone strength. I don't know, maybe that sounds familiar to you. It wasn't just about muscle, although of course they made sure they were in great shape. It was about the chi energy within and physical density. You wanted to look like a brick wall. That was kind of the physique they were shooting for. It's important to note, of course, that they weren't hitting themselves in the face with hammers like modern looks maxers. Their routine usually included things like hitting sandbags or poles to increase their bone density. There was a 20th century French scholar named Jacques Journet who specialized in Chinese history, and he talked a lot about how these aspects of appearance became kind of a coded language of your class. In the incredibly hierarchical society.
This is so extremely interesting, bro. So they did different things to like appeal to the different classes that they were in. I'm learning so much. I feel like my brain is fucking expanded, bro. Like, nigga, you know what I'm saying?
Of medieval China, if you didn't have the specific look, you were culturally invisible. It seems like a lot of young men, and young women too, feel this way today. If you just look up the term looks maxing on YouTube or TikTok, the insecurity is overwhelming, but it's understandable.
It's understandable. Everybody wants to look as good as possible, bro, but that shit, this is always gonna be like so funny. Like, I get it, bro. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look better, like, at all, actually. It's actually good that you want to look better and be more presentable to society, but damn, bro, like, you out here tapping your face with fucking hammers and shit, like, looking like a crazy person, just making your fucking face swell. Like, you niggas look crazy, bro.
You were all vulnerable teenagers once too. But you see these guys giving each other ratings on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, and getting rated by other fucking men? Crazy! Crazy! Niggas talking about so, hey, just, I remember this one dude, his name was Wheat Waffles. I watched a video of his and he said, after every video, he would be like, oh, make sure y'all send y'all pictures into the Discord and I'll give you a rating for a price or some shit. I was like, are we about to be, y'all let that fucking man rate y'all? That's disgusting. Could never be me.
And recommending which specific steroids or looks maxing techniques to try so they can bring their flagging features up to speed. This includes peptides, which as far as I understand are these amino acid based performance enhancers, and the use of GLP-1s like Ozempic, which I feel like people associate with an older audience, but there seem to be a shocking amount of young people taking them. The medieval Chinese were actually—
I thought Ozempic was for diabetes. Turns out they use that shit to lose weight. I remember my first time hearing people use Ozempic to lose weight. I was like, what the fuck? Isn't that for diabetes, nigga? Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Y'all niggas tripping. The fuck? Anything to look good, I guess. Goddamn.
big on this kind of thing too. They were obsessed with elixirs made from rare minerals and herbs that were designed to lighten the body and extend life. A lot of these were incredibly dangerous and even—
They definitely put like, like this is the period in history, but they didn't know that mercury was fucking dangerous. I know they definitely had elixirs with mercury in it, no cap.
included mercury, and I'm sure—
I was just gonna say, yep, yep.
Sure, in the next 10 years or so, there will be a bunch of studies showing the horrific side effects of looks maxing and peptides. The idea behind this medieval Chinese looks maxing was essentially the same as the idea behind the modern version, using some kind of external chemistry or method to hack your biological limits and achieve this sort of superior physical state. The Chinese wrote a lot of things down, and thankfully a lot of them have survived over the centuries. Like the 7th century physician Sun Simao's essential formulas worth 1,000 gold pieces. It was basically this manual for longevity and physical refinement, and if you're familiar with the European concept of balancing the 4 humors, this was along the same lines. Simao describes the body as this chemical system that can be balanced or enhanced with specific substances. This idea went even further with the medieval Chinese concept of Naidan, or internal alchemy, which taught that the body was composed of 3 main ingredients, qi, jing, and shen, that could be forged into a golden cinder if you were locked in enough on your physical discipline. Locked in is a good term to use here because this sounds just like the trend of locking in that has been popular with Gen Z for at least 5 years now. If you're not familiar, it just means cutting off outside distractions and focusing intently on some kind of personal goal. So maybe getting your side hustle off the ground or working out more regularly or whatever. It's become sort of a cult online, especially among the gym community, and based on what you see from these fitness influencers—
Right, no cap, it would be so funny. Niggas would be like, she broke your heart, goes to the gym. I'm like, in my mind, that's good advice, I guess, but then again, like, you get your heart broke by a shorty, going to the gym is not gonna fix the pain that you're feeling in your heart, buddy. You're still gonna feel that fucking pain at the end of the day, gang. Like, I guess, you know, honestly, it's a good distraction, but you can't be in the gym 24/7, nigga. You're gonna go there for 2 hours at the most, and then you're gonna leave, and those memories are still gonna be in your fucking head, bro. So honestly, at the end of the day, we gotta more work on the internal of fixing, or not even fixing, but understanding the emotion within. And she breaks your heart, you take that, you live with that, and then you go talk to a new girl, and you heal your mind and your heart while also going to the gym, because the gym is great. It's good for you. I don't go to the gym really regularly, but when I used to, like in high school and shit, because I was basically on the basketball team and we was lifting weights consistently, like, it felt great, right? No cap. It felt really good. I liked it a lot. It was cool.
It's like your pump and your physique are proof of an internal moral victory, like a victory of the will over the laziness of your base body. A medieval Neidan practitioner literally thought the same exact way. They knew that their physical health and their outward radiance was proof that they had successfully cultivated their soul in a way that others couldn't or hadn't. Young people seem way more into fitness now than they did even 10 years ago. I'm not sure if that's a COVID thing, but I love to see it. There seems to be a lot of conversation around—
Because there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting that mug, you know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with that at all. That's fire. But if you're using that to fight your mental illness, sorry, buddy. It's no. That's not why you should be in the gym. You should be in the gym to look good, not to fight your mental illness, bruh. Not gonna lie.
The idea that your body is the one status symbol you can't really buy. You can buy a Bugatti or a nice watch or whatever, but you can only achieve a truly amazing physique through countless hours in the gym, so it's really the most—
That is true. Also, it's one of the main disses that they had against Drake. They said that nigga had V12 abs. That shit was fucking hilarious, bro, because Drake got fake abs. If y'all didn't know, look at the pictures of his abs. This nigga's arms are little as shit. His abs are fucking super. He got string bean arms with Superman abs. How? I don't know. Shit crazy.
impressive thing you can have. There's also this quote from the video game Disco Elysium where a bouncer says to the main character, "Your body betrays your degeneracy," and that always sticks in my head when I don't want to go to the gym. I just felt like including that. I like tossing random tidbits into these videos. Now, most of what I've been talking about so far has come from the Song Dynasty, which lasted for a few centuries right smack dab in the middle of what we would consider the Middle Ages. But the Middle Ages lasted almost 1,000 years, so what about the rest of medieval China? You know what? I'm really glad you asked that. First of all, the Middle Ages
Of course, that's the exact fucking thought I had in my mind. What happened next? What the fuck? Duh.
happened differently in China than they did in Europe. Basically, even though there are quite a few Song Dynasty parallels, Gen Z is actually in more of a late Ming phase. That's right, I said it. In the earlier Tang Dynasty, which lasted from 618 to 907 AD, your identity was defined by your clan or your rank in the military, basically how people's identities have been defined for most of human history. You were a cog in the great chain of being, and the same thing was true in medieval Europe. You existed within a feudal system put in place by the divine mover. By the late Ming period, which went all the way into the 17th century, there was this rise in individualism that started to run so deep that it turned into the same kind of identity crises and obsession with labels that we see among Gen Z today. You see, Chinese society had reached a level of complexity to such a point that people started to define themselves by their personal quirks and not their family or job. So instead of saying, "I am a soldier," a late Ming youngin might say, "I'm a connoisseur of rare incense who suffers from melancholy." In a similar way, you'd be hard—
What the fuck? Well, that is some nut ass shit to say. I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's crazy.
pressed to meet a young person today who primarily identifies by their profession or their nationality. Find me a 22-year-old who introduces themselves as Garrett the American plumber, and I would genuinely be shocked. I'm sure Garrett will now show up in my comments to prove me wrong because that's how YouTube works. Instead, just like the Ming youth, young people now might identify as a neurodivergent creative with a
Nigga, when niggas ask me, David, who are you? I'm just like, shit, my name is David Ekpo. That's all I say. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not no neurodivergent whoop-de-doo-de-doo. I'm just David, bro. That's it, nigga. You know what I'm saying?
hyperfixation on looks maxing. It's this obsession with self, and it can be dangerous because you stop viewing yourself as part of a wider community and start squeezing yourself into these ever smaller and more specific boxes. The late Ming period was a kind of renaissance that ultimately failed. It was this explosion of individual expression and art and looks maxing and everything else, but it was cut short by the Manchu conquest in 1644. I honestly think we're going to see something similar with Gen Z in the coming years. They're in this period of extreme self-expression and pursuit of individual destiny right before a massive systemic reset comes. Maybe that's AI, maybe it's something else, only time will tell. Anyway, we just briefly stepped outside of the Middle Ages, so let's bring things back a few centuries for our next comparison. I want to go back to those Song Dynasty third spaces we talked about earlier. One of them was the Watsi, or the Pleasure Precinct, which sounds pretty good already. Basically, during the Song Dynasty—
That's just it was getting pornographic in there, huh? God damn. That nigga sitting there with a robe with his big ass belly out. What the fuck?
the government moved away from these strictly managed residential wards and allowed for the growth of pleasure precincts, or Watsi. If you've ever seen The Wire, this was kind of like the medieval Chinese equivalent of the Amsterdam experiment. The Watsi were these chaotic 24-hour zones where all the basic social rules were temporarily suspended, kind of like the medieval equivalent of the unregulated internet. Now, if you let a bunch of young men loose in an area with no rules, the first thing they'll be interested in is prostitution, but in the modern day, you already check that box with online adult content and gooning. After those urges are satisfied, literally the very next thing they want is to gamble. It's a tale as old as—
Oh my fucking god. Oh, holy shit. But all these niggas know it's gambling, bro. I ain't gonna lie. All these niggas know it's gambling, bro. From the top to top to bottom, every nigga on earth, every nigga in the United States that I know, they gamble, nigga. They gamble hard, bro. I ain't gonna lie. They be spending at least a cool 2-3 hours a day just gambling, bro. No cap. Trying to get a hit of dopamine in their system, bro. Through a system where the house always wins. Shit crazy.
Time, and it was a big problem in the Song Dynasty pleasure districts, and it's an even bigger problem now on private gambling Discord servers and even huge publicly accessible apps like DraftKings and BetDSI. I see so many young people now who are almost turning online gambling into a sort of career path, and guess what? They did the same thing back in the day too. You see all kinds of criticisms from these Song Dynasty officials like Sima Guang, who laments that young men are abandoning the plow and the book to chase the flip of the die. There's also this modern sociologist named Beverly Yuen Thompson who writes great stuff about
her tattoos are cold as fuck. Damn, her shit icy, nigga. That's tough.
Cultures, and she's noted that fringe groups usually start to form when the mainstream promise of hard work equals success is broken. In the Song Dynasty, your ticket to success was passing the imperial exam, but you could study 30 years just to fail an exam that only had a 1% pass rate. That's a bad bet. Young people now are seeing the same thing. Their parents bought houses and supported an entire family on a modest single income, and now they can barely afford their rent. In this kind of paradigm, why wouldn't you open up DraftKings and put everything you own on some ridiculous parlay? Why wouldn't you dump your whole
portfolio? Hey, all that negatives of gambling aside, when that motherfucker hit, nigga, I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I don't be gambling, but I ain't gonna lie. When I see niggas hit, they hit big, no cap. But that's the propaganda though. That's that propaganda y'all gotta lock in. They don't always hit big. That's that propaganda, bro. No cap.
Portfolio into some meme coin in the hopes it'll take you to the moon. We might think of this younger generation of gambling addicts as just irresponsible kids whose frontal lobes aren't fully developed yet. That's definitely part of it, but they're also making a desperate, calculated attempt to exit a system that has already failed them. Going back to the Watsi, the pleasure precincts, the reason they never fully took over society is because you had to physically go to them. There was a spirit of anonymity. Basically what happens in the Watsi stays in the Watsi, but you still had to go engage in these acts in a somewhat public place and deal with the internal shame of that. Now, with the internet, young people can indulge in all of their most base desires without ever even getting off the couch, and it can literally cost them their entire future. It's worth noting too that when you have a bunch of young, desperate people gathering in one place for a set objective, it can create a sort of ideological powder keg. So in the Watsi, these guys formed gambling brotherhoods, and the Song Penal Code tried constantly to break them up because they feared the brotherhoods were becoming more loyal to each other than to the emperor. Now you might get into a private Discord server ostensibly to do some gambling and trade some insider tips, and next thing you know, you're radicalized into committing some horrific public act of terror. This feels like a good place to land the plane because the main point I want to make with these videos is that time is a flat circle and we're essentially repeating the patterns of the past over and over again. There's the old saying that those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it, but it seems like even when we do study history, we're powerless not to make the same mistakes.
At the end of the day, we're not that different from our ancestors, bro. Just cause niggas got phones and technology now don't mean we still not the same humans like back then that was barely like able to write and able to fucking read and able to goddamn and able to, you know, do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, still the same.
The difference now, of course, is that these things are happening on a massive global scale with the full weight of tech companies and government institutions behind them. A soldier in the Song Dynasty might drunkenly head to the Watsi and lose his monthly wages, and that was it. A young 20-something now might obsessively bet his entire savings on an app on his phone and ruin his whole life before it's even started. This is why we need to pay attention to these trends and recognize that even though human behavior hasn't changed, how we respond to it can. But what do you think? Has this video found you at a very medieval Chinese time in your life? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm John, this has been Medieval Mindset, and remember, the past isn't gone, it's simply waiting to be rediscovered.
Shit, I ain't gonna lie, that was tough, bro. That was a really good video, man. Shit, as a nigga that's 19, I might be in a very medieval stage in my life too. Shit, I don't know. But with that being said, make sure you like and subscribe if you relate to it in this video, you know what I'm saying? Leave it down in the comments down below. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. I said we out this out.